how do I get ideas for our homeschool activities and our arts and crafts and our lessons without getting overwhelmed? Well, you know, and I know, I'm sure you've seen it at some point already on social media. People will post, well, what curriculum do you use? And then all of a sudden you get 200 messages of people who go, I do this and I do that. And now you go, I don't have time to look up 200 different suggestions of curriculum. And most of them I can't afford, or whatever. They're too expensive, or they're too complicated, or they don't work with our schedule. Okay? That's one of the reasons, again, why I provide a curriculum recommendation list based on our consultation, so I know your story, I know your lifestyle, I know your scheduling, I know your kids' learning styles. So I don't give you a 200 point list. I give you actual suggestions of curriculum that might actually work for you. Okay? Field trip and activity guides, things like that. I also include that in my groups. If you're not already plugged in, I suggest you reach out to me. Okay? There is Pinterest. Tons of homeschool materials, ideas, inspiration. YouTube, again. If you want to go down the rabbit hole, there's tons out there these days. But again, are you going to get overwhelmed or not? Put a limit on yourself. How long are you going to go down the rabbit hole? Or maybe based on your curriculum for this week, you look up something for ancient Egypt and you come up with 1 or 2 activities that the kids can do, and that's it. You got your 2 activities and you're done. You close the laptop and you walk away, right? There are tons of resources. It's just a matter of disciplining yourself so that you don't get overwhelmed. I remember YouTube was under 15 minutes and there were no vloggers and bloggers. There weren't tons of blog posts back then. So I literally had to kind of figure things out. I remember spending many, many hours in the evenings when the kids were little and I put them to bed early, and I would make file folder games. And if you don't know, look it up. It's great for little kids, right? And I sat there with contact paper and little gaming pieces and the folders and the whole nine, and then I gave them away to somebody who did not appreciate them. I could have made a fortune off of those things. And I spent a lot of time and effort on them. So there are tons of little activities, and it's way more fun at the elementary level. Let me just tell you, if you have young kids, appreciate it and enjoy and have fun, because homeschooling young kids is just, it's really fun. And there's so much to do. I wish I wasn't going through as much as I was in my lifetime during those years, because I don't remember a lot of it. I was just going through so much. So enjoy the littles, enjoy that time, enjoy those simple days where they could just watch a very wholesome little show and have their little crackers and take them to the park and take them, places, and just enjoy them when they're little. What about electives? So foreign language. We're talking about home economics, we're talking about accounting, we're talking about shop or metal, woodworking classes, anything that's a trade or a specific interest of the child. These are all things that you decide with your child on what to do. If your child has a specific interest, or, they're into photography, for example, there are classes within the community, even if they're not geared towards homeschoolers, who will allow your child to participate. There are classes at the community college. There are classes that are available at the libraries, things like that. You can always post in community groups. Again, doesn't necessarily have to be homeschool focused, but there are people in the community that can help you. So for example, if my child is really interested in photography, I would post in a small business group, and I would post and say, hey, I have a 15-year-old or a 12-year-old or whatever who's really into photography. Is there a professional photographer who would be willing to host a little class for maybe 4 or 5 students? And again, I'm thinking beyond my own child, that would be willing to, an hour or 2 a week, a month, or whatever, host a little mini class for beginners, for kids. I promise you, there are tons of small business owners who would love to be able to supplement their income by offering something like that. Maybe they're not great teachers, right? It doesn't matter. If they're not interested, they just won't respond. But if they are interested, some of them are great at sharing their craft. They're great at sharing their talent, and they will, they'll give you a completely different perspective. And again, it's not a school, it's not a whatever. In a lot of ways, the fee might be very affordable, especially if you get a few, families involved. It might be $15-20. We're not talking about a $300 class here. But again, the way you kind of work it out with them, usually one parent has to take charge and kind of plan it out. But if you say, hey, I can get 5 students, 10 students. Do you have a studio? Do you have a place? Well, can we meet in my basement? Can we meet outside? Can we meet at a park? And, have different subjects, right? Today we're going to photograph, on a hike, right? So you're like a nature walk. Next week, we're going to film buildings and architecture. I don't know. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. But you can create those opportunities, and you can create classes that are electives for your children. Think outside the box. Not everything has to be, purchased ready to go. But there are lots of curriculum programs out there that have electives. So they have foreign languages. But also there are a lot of apps. So think about like Rosetta Stone or Babbel or Duolingo, things that are fun for the kids. They have phones and iPads and laptops. So whatever's easy for them, if they can hack out, 20, 30 minutes a day on their language arts, then great. Trying to think. Again, accounting, basic accounting, how to balance a checkbook. Who remembers a checkbook these days, right? I'm sure some kids would be like, checkbook? What's a checkbook? Because nobody uses a checkbook anymore. But how to, debits and credits, how to balance a monthly budget. These are things kids need to learn, and they're not learning in school. I remember we had an accounting teacher, I think it was senior year. She was an accounting teacher, but she was really like the keyboard computer teacher, and they just needed her to teach another subject, and she didn't really know what she was doing, so she kept like posting things on the projector, and when we would ask her questions, she'd be like, well, it's on the projector, and I'd be like, yeah, but we don't understand it. She couldn't explain it either. I skipped 2 weeks in a row on that teacher because I was just fed up with her. My mom goes, why didn't you go to class? And I go, I went to the library. I didn't go to the library. I went to Starbucks and I wrote in my journal for 2 weeks. And then I made it to third period. I'm telling you. And I was a good kid. So kids need to learn these things, okay? So when it comes to electives, any of their interests, anything that you want to give them, some exposure to, they're all okay. There are no rules. You don't have to have certain electives. They don't have to be accredited. It's education. Again, schooling versus education is a very different thing. And homeschoolers have a lot of flexibility in that. Okay, so there's lots of opportunities. You can think outside the box. And again, there are programs that offer you curriculum, that includes electives. And sometimes you can think, beyond that and reach out to your community. Okay. We talked about being an introvert or an extrovert and your child being the opposite. Again, you have to be proactive about your social opportunities. Push yourself out of your comfort zone to be able to provide what your child needs. You can play matchmaker for your kid. You can find friends. You can find friends for yourself. It is difficult to make friends as an adult. We know that. I always thought I was very unapproachable. Like I was like, oh, I have that like resting bitch face. Like nobody wants to look at me. Apparently every Tom, Dick, and Harry and every old lady and old man at the grocery store loves to come up to me. I love it because I'm a people person. I'm actually like that. But I'm always like, what makes them think they could come to me? I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter if I have makeup on, hair done. I could look like, I was scrubbing toilets all day. It doesn't matter. They will come and seek me out. But some people are like, I'm not that comfortable. I won't go and say hi to somebody. If I see a group of moms, I'm not going to go up to them and be like, hi, I'm Bahar. I'm like that inside, but I'm not going to go up to them, right? There's always some way that I kind of work it out or somebody comes up to me. So it's very different. But our kids are like that too. So we have to recognize that and kind of create opportunities for them to be successful and to have new friendships. Some parents are saying, well, my kids really want to go back to school because of their friends. Well, okay. But if your child wasn't in school, then what? Are those friends still going to exist? No. chances are those same friends are not willing to meet your child for the movies or go hang out at the mall or come over to the house to play or whatever, because they're not in school anymore. It's just because they're in the same classes. So is your child really learning how to have long-lasting friendships or friendships of convenience? And think about that as we go through the rest of our lives. As adults, we don't see our friends every single day. It's quality versus quantity. We may be really proactive about having friendships. We're the ones who call and check in all the time. We're the ones who, plan things or whatever, and our friends don't. We love to maintain those friendships, and our friends don't always, right? We might, go 6 months without seeing some of our friends. We might see our friends, every 2 weeks or every week. It really is just quality versus quantity. And we have friendships of all ages, right? Yeah, typically, we might stick to our peers, but I have most of my friends that I know right now and have for several years are well over 10 years older than me. Well over. And I love them. And you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, right? But we're also in the same stages of life. I also have friends who are my age, but their kids are really little. But I was a young mom. So it really just, we want to teach our kids how to have quality relationships, and we want friendships for ourselves as well. Okay. Let's see. All right. The very last one, and then we're going to wrap things up. And thank you for those of you who are sticking around. Last point. What about dads? Okay. Can dads homeschool? Yes. Can they do it better than moms? Can they parent better than moms? It's the whole same conversation. Dads homeschool the way dads parent. I'm telling you, they do. Can dads homeschool? Yes. Can they do a great job? Yes. Do they have subjects that are their strengths versus their weaknesses? Yes. The same thing with moms. If dad stays home, can he homeschool? Yes. Can he be a work from home dad and homeschool? Yes. If mom has to go out to work and dad's home, can he homeschool? Yeah. Does he have the patience for it? Probably not. Does he have the attention span for it? Probably not. But can he do it? Yes. Is he going to do it the way you want him to do it? Probably not. Did he change diapers the way you wanted him to do it? Probably not, right? Dads are awesome. And I have had the honor and privilege of talking to some dads who said, I want to be on the phone with Bahar too when you have the consultation. Put her on speakerphone. I want to be part of this. I want to advocate for my kid. I want to make sure that we provide her the education that she needs or wants. I want him to have a great experience with education. I had one friend of mine, I love this. I love that he was willing to do this. He's a business owner. He's got 2 amazing businesses. I don't know if he does anything else, but he's just amazing at it. Great member of the community. And his son, great kid, but he wants to be with his friends. And his dad even said, I'm so tired of all the mess of this county. I would love to just take him on an RV trip and homeschool him on the road and create memories and all of that. That is a beautiful, beautiful thought. We understand it as parents, as adults, what kind of opportunity he's trying to provide his child. But as a kid, you're going, oh, Dad, I just want to be with my friends. We know what value that suggestion, that idea has. But as a child, they don't always get it until it's too late, right? That's just how life is. I love to hear dads who are really involved, and they can do an amazing job at parenting their kids. And I love dads who are really involved, because there are so many who have just checked out and who are not there for their kids. They're not interested. They really aren't, right? And, we could go down that rabbit hole, but then I'd have to put my other business hat on, okay? But it is possible, if you or your husband or ex or whoever wants to homeschool and you need help, I'd be more than happy to work work with you and kind of make things feasible for you. Dads are great at teaching kids, and they can teach subjects that mom may not be inclined to teach, or to do activities and things that, grandma can't do or mom can't do or whatever, right? Or you may not be able to outsource. So don't discount the power of a great dad who can teach and who can guide and who can love on those kids all day long and, have a successful educational journey as a homeschooling parent and family. I've covered all the questions that I wanted to cover, and I've talked so much today, but I really wanted to answer a lot of the common questions that I get. And again, I kind of do this every year, but this year is a little bit different than last year and the years prior. If you want to work with me, this is how you can do it. It's a very simple process. You send me a message, you say, let's schedule a consultation. We schedule that. It's a simple phone call. It's old school. Usually takes 20 to 40 minutes, depending on how much we chit chat. If you want to have a spouse on the phone, again, same thing. It could be evening, weekend hours, it's fine. Are you limited on your time, crunch time? Kind of. We want to make sure that you get on the right foot and you get situated before, 15th-ish is the ideal to get your notice of intent in. If you want to do it later than that, fine, but it's easier to get things squared away sooner rather than later. If you are thinking about getting your kids in school, we can always transition them out. But again, you know where your mind is. If you're willing and able, let's go ahead and get you started. So we have the consultation. Based on what we discuss in your scenario and everything else, I take notes. So I'm ready to, look up and do some research for your kids. And then if you're willing to proceed, it's $125 plus $25 for each additional child. So depending on the scenario, if there's not a whole lot that I need to provide, for example, sometimes people have little kids that they just want a little bit of resource for, then it's just the $125. But in general, it's $125 plus each additional. So if you have 3 kids in different grade levels, the information that I'm going to provide you is different. So I have to add additional resources and research to it. So that's why I charge a little more. So, but think about it. If you have 1 kid, $125. You send me your email address. I send you a PayPal invoice. Once it's paid, it's usually about 3 to 5 days where I do the research and get the links and everything ready to go. You get curriculum guidelines for your child's grade level. That means you can use any type of curriculum that you want. You can supplement how you want, but you have a game plan. You have a list of their core subjects where they need to be for language arts, math, science, and social studies. So you have an idea of, okay, these are the things they should learn. They might need to review certain things, or they may be ahead on certain things. That's okay. It's just a guideline, right? Some things you may not cover this year, and that's okay. You can cover them next year. All right. You also get a recommended reading list. Again, parent approved. I usually go old school with that, things that we read when we were kids, nothing fun and crazy these days. If you want to add more to your child's reading list, that's up to you. That's your prerogative. But, I always add the recommended reading list. You get plugged into my Facebook groups, my private groups, where you get field trip activity guides, craft ideas, all sorts of little projects, as well as free printables and resources that may help you throughout the year. And I'm trying to think. I think that's pretty much it. So I get you started. And I walk you through your beginning of year requirements and your end of year requirements. And then as needed throughout the year, when you have questions or concerns, you can always feel free to ask me. I always feel like when someone is an expert in their field, you may pay for a particular service or a package, and then you feel like you can't ask them questions again later, or they're going to charge you again. I don't do that throughout the year. So if you have a question here and there, I'm in your corner. I'm there for you. I'm your resource, so that you don't, you can, but so that you don't have to post on social media and get overwhelmed with tons and tons of responses. Okay. I think that is it. I don't see any questions popping up. Again, if you have any that you think of later, if you're watching this on a replay, always feel free to send me a message or reach out. If you'd like to work with me, I'd be happy to work with you and kind of get you started. So again, if you are on the fence, think about your family's priorities. Think about the reason why you are focused on your child's education and not necessarily their schooling. Because if you're focused on their education, then there is an educational choice for you. This is a crazy time we're living in right now. There are lots of unknowns. I don't have a magic ball. I can't tell you what's going to happen. I do think the parents are going to get surprised again this year. I hope it's positive, but I don't think so. Not the way things are going. And private school, they're dealing with a lot of the same challenges, and I think it's going to get more and more difficult for them to operate the way that they would like. Not to say that they don't want to run things a certain way. I think they're getting squeezed and squeezed until they have to bend. We want to hold on to our homeschool rights as a community as long as possible. We have great state organizations. We have organizations all across the country who will fight like you've never seen to hold on to our homeschool rights. So, and I just died on Facebook. Okay, thank you for taking the time to listen and watch. And if you have any questions, again, please feel free to reach out. You can find me on the Homeschool Ambassador on Facebook or on Instagram at the Homeschool Ambassador. Thank you again, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.